Hello, Internet. It is your host, Janiel,
Jaw for short.
I welcome you back to the liminal space. I want to continue our discussion on subversion and sleeper agents through the lens of espionage. Espionage is another form of sleeper agents, meaning it is their task at hand when they are not during that grace period that we have before they are activated by the foreign entity. They are collecting information. Espionage is spy work, and the spy work is helped by others. It's not just one cell in the country, they have multiple cells. They're usually a collective. They have a collective goal, so they have collective motives and actions. And that's a telltale. When you have one, you have multiple. But I want to also bring up how this is also religious and it proceeds from theology, like stealth jihad, where it's a call to action by their God and by their prophet, and the purists see it as their duty as a Muslim to do, and that's their utopia. Like communism is the financial system of the perfect country for the citizens. Espionage is a Jewish trait. And I mean that not to be discriminatory or say that every single Jew has it out for the country and that they're all in on it. Not at all. We have to remember to differentiate the state and the people. The state um, need these type of people, and we see that all throughout history. Recently, with the world wars, that Jews were used as spies and they were an asset for the intelligence agencies. And this comes from the way Jews operate. And it's also a survival tactic, like a defense mode, where they, for their persecution, have to put on an alias. So, and they move around the country a lot, or the continent if it's Europe. So they are they'll always be in the shadows, and their profession takes them all over the world. If they're a merchant, they're going all over, and that can be exploited by the state, and we do see the fruits of that. And I want to bring attention to ulterior motives. Ulterior motives is when you say one thing and do another thing. That's plain and simple. And your motive does not align with the country or system you are within. And the big hitter of this is the Julius and Ethel Rosenberg case. Julius and Ethel were two Jews. They were American, but were of Jewish descent. And they were the last time America, as we know, assassinated someone for treason. And the reason they were assassinated was because they gave the Soviet Union, our biggest enemy at the time, this was during the Cold War, our technology, and the main big technology was nuclear warfare, warheads, and also like the espionage they were doing, they hid their tactics to expose our hiddenness. And I mean that because, yes, they also gave them weapons of mass destruction that the Soviet Union was lacking in the know how. They also gave them radar and sonar technology. So they are exposing us. They are not for us winning these fights. They were against us, and we also see this in many cases. Another form of subversion, when it's not espionage and it's not hidden, it is cloaked, meaning you can see it, but the intentions behind it may be skewed. And this is through the form of lobbying. Lobbying is not bribery. Bribery is when you are coercing people for power. Lobbying is protected under the First Amendment of freedom of speech. There's a red cardinal. Freedom of speech. Lobbying is one way for Israel and entities that want themselves to be put upon a pedestal get their way and it's advantageous for them. Another way they do it is through force. Think of JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson and LBJ's relationship with Israel. JFK was adamant about Israel not getting nukes, and he even went so far as to going to Israel and to see their capabilities. And we learned, which I'll put it up right here, that Israel was lying. Israel put a mask on their laboratories and engineering, so we didn't get the full picture of their capabilities. But JFK later found out that he was lied to, and he was pissed about it. So he said, they will never get nukes under my watch. And he also said he'll splinter the CIA to 1,000 pieces and scatter them in the wind. And then once we see, after JFK was assassinated, which will be a video on its own, or just countless videos on the internet that I would like for you to share, we see Lyndon B. Johnson giving Israel nukes and operations to get nukes and keep power. And the CIA was strengthened afterwards, and now it's off the leash. And to control it is almost impossible. The deep state, that's a sneak peek for the next video. I want to add onto the lobbying aspect and how we also do it to others, what America has done and corporations have done to other governments, which is also unjust and should be called out, because America is not perfect. It's what the Chiquita banana brand, the fruit company, did to Guatemala. The corporation and state worked together because they both had means to an end. The state and the CIA had their grimy little hands all throughout Latin America, and for fear of communism spreading, the inverse of capitalism. And then the corporation exploited this Chiquita because in Guatemala they had a lot of land, and the president, Jacob, was fearful of the exploitation of the land and of his people, harsh working conditions, and he just didn't want, he wanted the money and the production to come back to the people instead of a foreign entity, which no one should want. You want your people to look like you, to act like you, to believe like you, and when people do integrate, let them make them assimilate. Keep your uniqueness, but there's everyone has an order. Each country operates different, for better or worse. And if it's worse, you speak out, but um you don't try to exploit it and overrule, or just leave. Okay, damn, you're not a cop. But Chiquita created or orchestrated a coup into Guatemala. Coup is a definition of subversion. That is a militant operation that is not secretive, but you don't know it's happening till it happens, and it's abrupt, and it causes so much chaos that chaos is then used to, like I've said, flip the axes so you can put someone that you want. And in Guatemala, which I'm Guatemalan, they put a president, which I'll put his name. I wrote a paper on this, but so my facts are a little rusty. They then planted a president that would align with their beliefs and their plan. And that's messed up. It should be called out. And I want you guys to also bring up injustices done in your country, in your homeland, and in your state. And don't be scared to speak out. I want this place to be a community that spreads awareness and is not scared of telling the truth. Do not let the state and corporations and fear muzzle you and your voice and your truth that we all have to say. And that takes bravery, but I hope this community can be tight knit and support each other. And I know that will go a long way. And we need every single bit of that moving force against the evil, against the injustices that plague us. Speak out about anything that you think doesn't add prosperity to this country.